Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me today for the Buzz with Busy Crochet. We are going to be talking with Marsha from Marsha YarnDoodles this morning. And hang on a second. I just got to take off that little comment that popped up. She is based in the US, and we're going to have a great conversation today. So hang on just a minute. Let me bring her in.
Hi,
Hey, Marsha.
everyone. Hey, how are you?
Welcome to the Buzz with Busy Crochet. Thank you so much for joining me.
Absolutely.
Alrighty, I'm just quick adding one more group to our feed this morning because it just wouldn't program. So welcome to the Cal Crochet Along group, which I just added to the feed. Alrighty, so Marsha from Marsha YarnDoodles, I would like for you to tell us who you are. Like, where are you from? What kind of family information you would be, feel like you want to share with us today?
Yeah, there are some things I'm not going to share.
No, we can have our secrets.
So my name is Marsha Sparks. I have been happily married for 34 years. Have an awesome husband who is my rock, both emotionally, just supports me in everything I do. He's the Christian leader in our family and just really keeps us grounded and so forth. I come from a family of 4 kids. I am the baby of the family.
The baby. I'm the baby too.
Maybe that's why we get along.
Yes.
I unfortunately have lost my brother that was closest to me. He died in a snowmobile accident many, many years ago. But I recently, well, not recently, I guess in 2022, lost my mom to cancer. So she, we kind of had a rough relationship, kind of thing. Not the ideal mother-daughter thing, but even saying that, the losses, it continues, Last year I was blessed to be part of the Cancer Challenge hat challenge thing that Sweet Potato does. And I designed a hat in memory of her, which was really substantial emotionally for me,
Yeah.
But we moved to Tennessee. We met and married in Richmond, Virginia area. We're there for 20 years or so. And then we both at the time worked for Circuit City, which some of you may or may not remember, depending on how
remember that.
Yeah. We were both in the corporate offices there in Richmond. He is a computer geek to the core.
That's handy to have in the house, isn't it?
Oh, it is, but it's kind of like the plumber's wife, who has the most plumber problems? The plumber's
toddler's children wear no shoes.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, so after Circuit City closed down, he got a job working as a consultant for the FBI in West Virginia.
Wow.
So we lived there for about 10 years. Then my mother-in-law passed away, and about 3 weeks later, we found out my father-in-law had pancreatic cancer. So,
oh my goodness,
I homeschooled my son. So we just he and I packed up and moved in with my father-in-law in Tennessee. And then after a while, I told my husband, "Okay, it's time to just move." It just was too much. So we've been here for since summer of 19, I believe it was. So enjoying the climate here for the most part. I was raised in upstate New York, very familiar with lots of snow. West Virginia kept me familiar with snow, and I'm happy that Tennessee doesn't have much of that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, do you love Tennessee, though? It's a beautiful area.
It really is. We are big campers. We tent camped for the first 19 years of our marriage. And then we upgraded to a pop-up. And then from there, we got, upgraded to a real camper.
Yeah.
So we like to go as often as we can. We prefer kind of early spring to fall, like into the fall time. We don't care for the summertime.
Because you just bake.
Yeah, neither one of us enjoy just sweating,
You just lay there, you're like, oh, this is super fun.
Yeah. And if all we're going to do to go camping to stay in the camper in the air conditioning, well, why bother going? So, anyways, but that's our big family kind of hobby is we like to camp together. So.
Well, that's awesome. So do you do any crocheting that you take with you for your camper and that kind of stuff?
Oh, oddly, I don't have, other than like pot holders and dishcloths, that kind of function thing. I really
Yeah.
don't have much in the camper that I've actually, made per se. Of course,
Oh,
I
wow.
think
That's that cobbler's kids thing again, isn't
yeah,
it?
exactly. We've talked before. I crochet a lot, but I have very few things that I've crocheted because I usually
Mhm.
just I make them and I give them away, or
Yep.
whatever. So,
I give my stuff away too. It's just, it's like if I'm making something, I know that I'm probably not going to keep it. I've got piles of stuff everywhere. It's like, oh, I've got something for that person.
right, exactly.
I've got a gift. Just hang on a second.
I just gotta find it now.
Exactly. It's like, which tote is it in?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about crocheting. How many years have you been crocheting?
I was thinking about that before we started talking, and I'm thinking it was around. It's been 30 to maybe 35 years somewhere. Well, not quite 35 because my mother-in-law is the one that taught me. So I would say right around the 30-year mark.
That's incredible. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And so your mother-in-law taught you. What was the first thing that she taught you how to do?
I kind of jumped straight to the double crochet, and we just started making scarves for homeless people. That
Oh, how
was
nice.
kind of our first. She taught me how to do the double crochet, and so from there, of course, all I knew how to do was just back and forth, back and forth.
Yeah.
So I made lots of different scarves, and then thankfully YouTube is available these days, and has really helped teach me new stitches and new methods and techniques and stuff like that, that have grown my knowledge base quite a bit. By no way would I say I'm an expert. There are tons and tons of things I still need to learn, I'm sure, and different techniques like Tunisian. I don't have a clue anything about that aspect of crochet. I don't, no offense to anyone that does that, but I don't think of that when I think of crochet.
Well, I've done Tunisian, but it was so many years ago, and it was at the time when I was trying out different stitches and things, and it moved too slowly for me. I think I would be interested in it, except that I knit. So I'm not really looking to do something that's going to replicate something that I already do.
Right. Yeah.
If it
I
makes any
knit
sense.
as well. Well, actually, I haven't actually knitted in a long time because crochet has just become such a
It
passion.
just absorbs you, doesn't it?
It does. I guess it's probably been, I'm going to say 8 to 10 years since I have knitted. Now, I'd like to think I could still do it, but it might take a little bit to get back to the
Yeah,
practice.
I would like riding a bike.
Yeah.
Though.
But crochet is just something I find crocheting more relaxing and more forgiving than knitting. So it just kind of has, the passion for knitting kind of went away when I really started learning new stitches and stuff for crochet and realized, oh, look what I can make, and I just didn't find knitting as flexible as what crochet is, as far
It is
as,
definitely not something you can just set down and walk away and come back and know where you're at, kind of
Right.
thing. You can't just look at it and go, okay, I know exactly where I'm at and what I'm doing and what
Right.
row I'm on. And
Right. Yeah.
And if you drop a stitch, God forbid.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I had a friend back when we were in West Virginia, and she was making this blanket. Her son was about to get married, and she was making this big blanket meant for him and his wife to cuddle on the couch, like watching TV or whatever. Well, it ended up, we nicknamed it the monster blanket. I mean, it literally probably was long enough that he could have used it as a sleeping bag. I mean, it was huge. And we were at a marriage retreat together, and she had dropped a stitch prior to coming, and she was just like, Marsha, I don't know, what to do. And I almost dropped that all the way down to the beginning, and I had to work that all the way back up for her. And I told her next time, I said, next time I will give you the YouTube link to show you how to do this.
Yes. Or you're just going to have a hole there, because I'm not doing that again.
Yeah, that was crazy. But
that's funny. Okay, so what brought you to the place where you decided you wanted to design? Because you've been crocheting for 34, 35 years, but I know from the last time that we talked that you haven't been designing that long.
Correct. My first design was published on February 2nd of 2020.
Wow.
February 2nd was my mother-in-law's birthday. So when I decided to make the plunge, it was important for me for that day to be the starting of my business officially.
Yeah, because you had created that hat for her, correct?
Yes.
In her honor?
Yes.
Okay.
And prior to actually publishing, of course, like many of us, we, get a pattern and we make it, and then we're, oh, I could change this about it, or I could do this, or, oh, that gives me this idea, or
It
whatever.
inspires you. Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, I had been doing that kind of thing for years before, actually deciding to crochet. But I made the Peggy Lou beanie, was my, named after her, was my first hat pattern to be published. And on the same day, I published my chicken hot pad.
Oh, that one is so popular.
It really is. It to this day continues to be my bestseller. I mean, it is just.
What is it about chickens?
Right. I never knew there were so many chicken lovers in the world.
They all came out of the woodwork.
Yeah, no kidding. But yeah, it continues. I'm amazed at how much it still, is a big seller for me. But anyway, so those two patterns were both published on the same day. Technically, the chicken pad made it as the first, pattern, but that was just.
We now have the answer. The chicken came first.
Right. The chicken or the hat. But that's kind of where I started, and have did, I would say, fairly little the first year, just trying to figure out what in the world does this mean to be a crochet designer, and right, who am I? How do I get my patterns, from point A to, published on the, Ravelry or whatever, and developing my own, testing group, and people that I could trust to test my patterns and give me good feedback, and stuff like that, which if you're a new designer out there, it is critical that, at least in my opinion,
invaluable.
Yeah, that you get good testers, and it's important to have all your patterns tested. Even I have simple coasters that, like, I do a monthly free pattern on my website, and often they're coasters, and they're not complicated ones. They're not meant to be complicated. They're just a quick and easy project for people. But even those I've had people have tested. Just because you might forget, to tell them to repeat, or we are human.
We get so used to writing this stuff down. We're so like in robot mode because we do it all the time, and that's the problem. Is you need to have that separate set of eyes that can see things that you just miss.
Yeah, you can't find your own mistakes. I mean, to some degree, you can,
really.
if they're obvious, especially with spell check. It helps you find some of your errors. But of course, in a crochet pattern, it thinks lots of things are errors.
To spit everything out. Yeah.
So sometimes I think I get used to it, identifying things as errors because of the spelling, abbreviating, stitches and stuff like that. That I don't maybe pay attention to all the spelling errors and stuff, but my testers are awesome. I won't say every pattern is perfect, but it's
pretty darn close.
Yeah.
Right. So tell me, what is your favorite part of designing?
I think for me, it is, I'm all about texture. I love to see it, to feel it. I think that's one thing I enjoy just about crocheting, is feeling the yarn in my hands. To me, it's a stress reliever, an anxiety calmer. I literally take my crochet everywhere. Doctor's offices. I even crochet in church because I have some social anxiety issues that it helps just kind of keep me centered, calm down.
Do you find that it helps you hear better too?
Yes, I really do.
When your hands are busy, you hear better. I do.
Yes, I think that's a touch of ADD there. Like I can't be still, and if I'm still, it doesn't, like, the brain doesn't engage. So doing something with my hands just kind of keeps me. People are like, how can you be paying attention to the preacher if you're crocheting? I'm like, I don't know how to explain it.
I absorb it better, because there was a church that I went to that I did crochet at, and I found that if I didn't have something in my hands working on it, then I did not hear him as well. Now it did bother some other people that thought I was being irreverent.
Yes.
And so I would try to keep it to a minimum, but I found that I absorbed more from the service if I could actually keep my hands busy. And my kids, I homeschooled both of them, and they were both completely different people. And I may be saying this wrong, but from my understanding, that's called like kinetic learning, where
Right.
you need to be moving in order to absorb what you're learning.
Right.
And my son was that person. He used to have to kind of stand and maybe walk back and forth or pace or whatever while he was reading or hearing things.
Right. Yep.
In order to be able to absorb it.
Yep. My I guess I would say I've always been like that, but just didn't realize what the connection was until my later years. But I was always like a doodler, I mean, even in school, in class, I'd be doodling. Of course, teachers would think, you're not paying attention. And I'm like, I am. I could quote to you what you just said, I mean, but
and they didn't appreciate that, did they?
Right. Of course, back then, of course, I am rather old, but
me too.
then people just they didn't I don't think people connected the different learning styles and stuff as much as they do nowadays. I mean, we've learned a lot in the umpteen years, I'll just leave the question mark there.
From the 30 or 40 years since we were little.
Yeah, a few longer than that. But that I think I crochet while I watch TV. I crochet, like I said, doctor's offices, church, in the vehicle. If I'm like stopped in a traffic jam, I don't have to worry about being bored because I always have a crochet project in my bag.
Always.
So.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So let's talk about your design aesthetic. We all start out kind of here where you started with your mother-in-law's hat design and your chicken hot pad. How do you feel like your design aesthetic, your style, the way that you approach your designs, how has that morphed and evolved over the time that you've been designing?
In some ways, I kind of think that it hasn't changed much because if you look at my pattern selection, what you'll find is mostly kitchen or home things and hats, scarves, that kind of thing. So as far as the
very useful and tactile, aren't they?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. My goal in my business is to design patterns, as I say in my bio or whatever, that are that make your life easier and better for you and your family. Whether that be by things to help you wash dishes with, to things to keep you warm or comfortable, under a blanket or whatever. That's kind of my mindset. When I design something, I've only made one like amigurumi type project, and that was for a cancer event that I just felt called for some reason. God said make an octopus, and I said, okay, I'm gonna make an octopus. But so far he hasn't told me to make any other Ammy, so I'm happy to stick with like I said, kitchen things. I have recently put out a spa set that is great for like Mother's Day. It's got like little face scrubbies, and it's got washcloths and a soap sack and a back scrubby, and again, things to make your life better. Not necessarily easier, but pamper yourself a little, or make it and pamper your mother. It would be a great Mother's Day. That's what I had in mind when I made it. Was I had been missing my mom, and I was thinking about things that would have been nice to have been able to make and give her, like for Mother's Day or birthday or whatever. And that's how the spa set kind of came to be, is thinking about ways to pamper the mother.
And you could just tuck in a couple of artisan soaps in that little basket.
Absolutely.
And that would be it's a full gift as it is, but like,
right.
A couple of cute things in there.
Yep. Proof it up a little.
Yeah.
So, but that's just an example of the types of things, to me, I don't tend to make things that I can't envision someone using.
Yeah.
So
I just had another idea for that, for anybody who's watching this later, in case you need an idea and you don't necessarily, like, some of us don't have people in our lives that would use something like that. Like, to make a basket like that, it would be like, oh, this is a really great gift, but I'll never touch it kind of thing.
Right.
But there are lots of charities and things like that can use stuff like that for fundraisers.
Yeah.
They do the basket giveaways and things of that nature. So, it's an idea for people to pick up that pattern to use it for something like that as well.
Yeah. And there's I have it all in an ebook. You can buy it, together for a discount, or you can just pick and choose the items out of it that you want and buy them individually, but anyways, I just, it just kind of, that pattern is called the imagination. I have, like, if you look at my patterns, I have bukus in this imagination line. And I just adore the stitch combination. And every time I make one, a tester will, oh, that would be great in a fill in the blank, so I actually do get a lot of my inspiration from my testers. They'll like, Marsha, I could use a whatever, and I'm like, I got just the stitches for that, or whatever.
Yeah.
So again, my testers have been just irreplaceable for me and my business. And
I'm going to throw something out there too that I did because we met over Christmas last year,
right?
And you had Christmas coasters that I took and turned into ornaments. One thing I will say that I love about your coasters is there's a lot of texture and different stitches in your coasters that if you just make 2 of them and put a little stuffing in between, they make really great Christmas ornaments. I mean, there's just, it's fun to kind of, I would, if I was wearing better, like if I wasn't wearing shorts, I would get up and walk over where they are and get one and show it, but I'm wearing shorts and it's just not pretty. So I'm not going to do that.
I can relate.
But yeah, no, like it's fun to take your patterns and create something else with them.
Right.
They're just very, very versatile.
So this is one that's going to be coming out. It's a little sunshine coaster.
Yeah.
And that would be perfect for what you're talking about, like for a baby's
you could just pick 2 of those. They're so simple.
2 of them back to back, and it'd be a great idea for that.
Ornaments. I'm big on Christmas, like everything Christmas in my house.
Right.
We have a Facebook listener here who says, I love testing for you. Can you throw your name in the comments just because we can't see who you are?
I would love to know who you are. I could probably narrow it down to a handful that I have some, my testing group's got like 50 people in it, but I've got, a core of probably a dozen that test on a real regular basis. And then, some that just kind of pop in periodically. And I understand that completely. I mean, you have a life too,
right. Absolutely.
I have fun with my testers. At least I hope they have fun with me. So that's.
Yes. I love my group of testers. They're your lifeblood.
They really are.
Let's see. Okay. I do want to ask you, how did you come up with your business name?
Well, that's kind of a funny story. Back years before I actually became a designer, my best friend and I were crocheting things a lot for cancer patients, for homeless, kind of thing. And we decided to kind of create our own little business, not an official business per se, but a Facebook group or page that people could come to see the different types of things that we were making in case they wanted them, wanted to order some or whatever. And one day we were just sitting in crocheting, and my husband was off in his little computer geek world, in the other room, and didn't even really think he was paying much attention to what was going on in the living room. And we had gone through several different ideas. I didn't want to limit it to crocheting because at the time I was also knitting, although I was crocheting more. So I wanted to leave it just yarn related. And my husband just kind of shouts out, how about YarnDoodles? And I was like, yeah, I like that. Like it was an instant, as things evolved, I just added my first name in there because I found there was another actual business called YarnDoodles. So I just went ahead and customized the business name to Marsha YarnDoodles to, set myself apart from the other business. So.
Yeah, for sure. That's fun. Do you have any special projects that you would like to share that you have coming up? I think you showed me a special thing. Are we showing that? Are we teasing that?
Yeah, I'm going to tease it just for the fun of it, just because it's
I love it so much.
Anyone else's group, I wouldn't do that. But so
because it's my favorite time of year.
It is indeed. I enjoy it myself, and it was a lot of fun making this one. So some of you may or may not know be familiar with my design called the Knot with a K, Knot, Not Your Ordinary Bag. And it is a Japanese knot style bag. And it too was a big hit. It is loaded with texture and different stitches. And it's just, to me, just very beautiful. And one of my testers, Julie, I believe it was, had said, that would make a gorgeous stocking, like a Christmas stocking. And the more I thought about it, the more I was like, okay, I just got to do it. So this is, let me see if I can get it all in there. This is coming up. It'll be released in November.
Can you take it a little bit closer to the camera?
No, how much so? There.
Yes, I love all that texture. That is so gorgeous.
So that actually, I think I was showing you.
Oh, just imagine the stocking in one of those wristlet bags, and that's what her bag is.
Right. So it's the same sequence, same stitch pattern kind of thing as that bag. And I adored it so much that, like I said, just after Julie had mentioned about it being a, great stocking, I had to make it happen,
Yes. Oh, it's so gorgeous. When are you planning to release that one?
The crochet designer community page, which I'm one of the designers that sponsor that group. We are having a Jingle Bell Hop in November, and it will feature both Christmas items themselves as well as like gift giving, ideas or whatever. And so this will make its debut as part of that hop.
And you said it's in November?
Yes.
Okay, that's awesome. I'm part of that group as well, so I'm sure I'll join because I love Christmas.
Yeah.
So, I do want to pop this comment up here. So as you're going.
Okay.
So I believe this is the person that said they love testing for you. I try to test for you as much as I can. We have great chats, and you helped me through a rough patch when I lost my mom. So you are also a counselor.
Well, for those of you who don't know, I have a strong faith and believe that we are supposed to support each other, and help each other along this rough road of life. And if there's something I've been through that can help you, I'm going to share that with you. And I like to think I'm a good listener. Sometimes I won't have any answers for you, per se, but I'm always here for a friend that's in need of, just someone to talk to.
And we're called to love on people. And that's the biggest thing, is just loving on people.
Yeah. And I call my testers my friends because, many of them have been with me for so long that we know a lot about each other, so it's just part of the fun of growing, as my business grows, you get to know your testers better.
Oh, sure. Absolutely. And so let's talk about a little bit about that whole, kind of crochet as therapy. We personally do it to, you had talked about anxiety. Like we do it to kind of calm ourselves down. We do it to keep our hands busy. We have all of our reasons why we personally do it. But do you find that crochet has offered you the ability to, or a platform, I should say, to kind of get to know other people? I want to say minister to others.
Well, it's
on a different level.
No, it's funny you say that because, again, if you look in a lot of my profile, like bio things, it'll tell you that crochet is, my hobby, my business, and my personal ministry.
Yes.
And I think, biblically speaking, God calls us all to be different parts of the body of Christ. And we all do different things. We all have different talents. And so I try to use something that I feel like God has gifted me with to be able to offer support or encouragement to other people. I mentioned that when I first started crocheting, some of my first projects were scarves for the homeless. And that continues to be one of my passion points. And I typically cater to like homeless type things, like when I'm designing hats and scarves and, things of that nature. I think of cancer or homeless. That's kind of my two, like I said, kind of pressure point type things when it comes to my passion of crocheting. Many of my shawls that I make, I give to, we have a beautiful lady at church who visits all the, sick and so forth at church. And I'm not one to actually go into other people's homes and visit, but I will give her my finished, like a lot of my prototypes of my shawls and stuff like that. I give to her, and then when she goes to visit like a cancer patient or whatever, she'll take my shawl with her and give it to them. So I mean, that's kind of what I guess you could say motivates me a lot, is just I want to give, I don't know how to say it, give back my talent to the Lord by giving to other people. I've done hundreds of hats that I've dropped at, the local cancer centers and, stuff like that. And do, scarves that I donate to, the homeless shelters or to people I see on the street or, whatever. So that's just kind of who I am. That's what motivates me to do.
I heard a minister one time say that something, when you find that you're compelled to do something, that's something that God's put inside of you as a ministry, or
absolutely.
Maybe I'm saying it wrong. You've been called to it. If you're compelled to do it, you're called to it.
Right.
And for me to say, it's the same thing with crocheting and knitting and anything really fiber art related, because I find that I am able to create things for people. I have something in my life personally, I call it the Woman of God ministry. And the reason I have that is I have a card that I have printed up, and I actually have a template that is on my blog somewhere. It's been a long time, but I use it, and I have it printed out on postcards, and I give it with whatever gifts I'm giving. And whomever, I feel has been put on my heart to give something handmade to, I give them this card, and it's been such a blessing to them. And it just lets them know that I see them as a woman. I see them as a woman of God. I see, and just encourage them to continue to be a light to the world, because that's what we're supposed to be. Right.
We, recently in January, we started a crochet class at church. We meet twice a month, and a lot of the ladies that joined the class had never picked up a hook and yarn before, and so we've just been having them learning new stitches, and we're all making like 6-inch blocks, and then we're putting them together for a lap blanket to give to an assisted living home, or for people that are wheelchair bound, or whatever. And it's been just so inspiring to see them go from they don't even know how to chain to being able to, make a block that goes into a community blanket. It's just, it's been very rewarding for me to see them, come to this point.
And we're supposed to pass this on. We're not supposed to hoard this stuff to ourselves. We're supposed to share it with others.
Right.
That's why I personally love the aspect of handmaids, because it allows you to touch people on a different level than say if I just go buy you something. This means that I want people to be seen.
Right.
I want them to feel valued. So I'm sorry, we really got off on that, but
well, it's important. I think it's important to both of us, and so it just naturally kind of goes.
And it actually kind of segues right into the next question. Do you have any outside projects that are close to your heart that you want to share? Do you have any charities that you personally give into? We were talking about kind of like your prayer shawl ministry at church, that you're teaching people. And outside of those, do you have anything else that you pour into?
I guess I probably mentioned most of them, homeless, shelters, or one thing that I've been wanting to do and haven't done, and I think I'm going to try to do it this winter, is do crochet hats or whatever, put them in like Ziploc bags and leave them in the parks where I know homeless people frequent. That's something that I've been wanting to do. Usually I've been doing it just as I see them on the street corner asking for something, and it's a cold winter day, and I give them a hat or a scarf or whatever. And the cancer, the local oncology wing is important to me. They they treated my father-in-law, sorry, with such
They become our dads too.
They really are. And that's, I grew up without a dad. So my husband's father and I really bonded very, very quickly and very deeply. And in many ways, I consider him my father, you know, more so than a father-in-law, you know, same with my mother-in-law.
Absolutely.
Anyways, they treated my father-in-law with great dignity and respect. That really meant a lot to me. He wasn't just a patient. They knew him by name. They, you know, they really seemed like they cared for him. And I feel like that I need to support them in their ministry, so to speak, you know, by offering, you know, items for other cancer patients that are suffering through things.
And it's gotten to the point now in society where almost you almost cannot find a person that is not in some way touched by cancer.
Absolutely.
That, I mean, that either they know somebody in their family directly, or they know, you know, like they're friends with some. I mean, it's everywhere.
Yep. Well, I am a cancer survivor myself. So thankfully mine was caught very early and I didn't have to have a treatment and such. But I remember how scared I was, you know, when that C word was used, you know.
Yeah, it's a right now moment, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because my daughter had leukemia at the age of 9, and she's 28 now. And so she's, you know, well past it. But you just never really forget that moment when they tell you that it's cancer. It's like, what?
Right.
It's what? Yeah. All right. So let's lighten the mood just a little bit. We're going to have some fun questions now.
Okay. Let's do fun.
Okay. So do you have any favorite books or TV shows or movie genres that you really like to watch? I'm personally a true crime fan. The books that I read are by a Christian author named Ted Decker, and he does psychological. He's like a Christian Stephen King.
Wow. I don't know. I have a hard time with that.
Yeah. So my husband made me stop reading Stephen King when we first got married because I was having nightmares. And then when I found Ted Decker, and he was a really good replacement for it, highly recommend. So yeah. So like, do you have anything that you would recommend?
I used to be a Christian romance reader, but like we talked about earlier, I found that reading took me away from being able to do with my hands. So I am more of a TV watcher kind of thing. Now, having said that, I don't like commercials, so I'm all about like the Netflix, the Hulu, you know.
Streaming services are the bomb.
Yeah. But I particularly love crime dramas, you know, just, you know, you name it, CSI, NCIS, Criminal Minds, Mentalist, you know, I mean, all of those that kind of, I like the get into the psyche of the criminal, you know, trying to figure out, you know, why are they like this? What, you know, trying to figure out who might it be, you know, you know, all those kinds of things. So that's kind of my go-to. That's when no one else is around and I'm sitting in my living room crocheting away. I typically have, you know, some kind of crime drama playing. And, you know, it's more like a podcast for me because, you know, I'm, you know, watching what I'm doing, but I look up just in time for the action scenes, you know.
You know, you can time it, you can hear it. There is, if you have Peacock, there's a really good one, and I like it because it's clean, and it's kind of like a documentary as opposed to a TV show. But it's called Buried in the Backyard, and it's one of those true crime things. And what it does is it tells you a story of somebody who was literally either buried in the sand, buried in the backyard, buried in the woods somewhere. Like there's like 5 or 6 seasons. So as they go, they end up in different areas.
Right.
But the thing is that they always throw a little bit of a twist in there. You're like, oh, I think this person must have killed them.
Right.
But no, it ends up turning out to be somebody different. But it's kind of morbid maybe, but I just find it fascinating.
I do too.
I'm so fascinated by it. Like these sick people, there are some that made me cry. You become involved in these people and you're like, how sad, how horrible.
Yeah. I have one of my testers, Crystal, her and I share like all the time, it's like, oh, look, I found this new crime drama show and it's, whatever. And you can find it on Hulu or, wherever. And
Yes.
she's really good about letting me know, oh, new seasons are up for, the show that we both have, fallen in love with or whatever. So, but yeah, I'm like you. I like the mental, trying to, not just the who, but why,
The why is so fascinating, isn't it?
It really is. We're all very complex people.
We are. And I'm like, some of us are just a little bit more messed up than others, but,
and we've got the background probably to prove why.
We probably do. And like, it kind of makes you sit there and evaluate yourself. Like, why didn't I turn out to be a psycho? Like I kind of lived some of those things. How come I'm not, murdering people? Right. I mean, I know why I'm not murdering people, but you know what I mean. Okay, that got weird. Anyway,
I hope you know.
So, all right. So we talked a little bit about multi-crafting and that you are a knitter. I know you said that you really don't do much of anything other than crochet, but do you have any other, are you a puzzle person? Do you like to, some people like to do like that diamond painting. Some people do cross stitch, that kind of thing. What's your history?
My history. I love jigsaw puzzles. They are, one of the things that just kind of lets me not think about life, because you got to think about which piece goes where. You like it. You
really use your brain in a different way, don't you?
Right. And it was something that kind of a passion that got reignited when I married my husband, because their family was big jigsaw puzzle people too. So we would sit as a family around, the jigsaw table and, just sit and have great conversations together as we, put this, typically beautiful puzzle together. So that's something. Matter of fact, my husband and I were in Gatlinburg 2 weeks ago, I think it was, and we hit up a thrift store while we were there, and there were some jigsaw puzzles there, and I haven't done one in many years because my passion for crocheting has kind of overcome my life, but they often help me kind of de-stress a little. So I got a couple, and now my only concern is how to keep my dog off the jigsaw puzzle table.
Yeah, it's weird how we get so used to, not doing something. And then you're like, well, wait a minute. Okay, I can't leave this out on this table because we actually use it for meals and stuff like that. Right. How fast can I put this together?
Right. And I guess one of the other things, I like to make, I don't know what they're actually called, like the crystal beads that you make into Christmas ornaments and things like that. You put them like on pipe cleaners and different shapes and like starburst and balls and, stuff like that. I like to do that, have more beads than I can probably use in, my lifetime.
They're pretty and they're easy to buy.
They really are. And they're fun. They look cool on a Christmas tree by colored lights or by white lights or whatever. And so I went through a big phase of, before I kind of found crochet to be my true, passion, I would make them, and, the family probably has more of those than they want to.
You could probably decorate a whole tree and just sparkly things.
I sure could.
Okay, so do you have a favorite place in your house that you like to create in? Do you got like a crochet chair, crochet couch, crochet office? I mean, I see things behind you, so.
This is, I'm in my office, and so this is where, of course, all my stash is, and there's more that you can't see, of course. And this is where I kind of do the day-to-day business type stuff, the social media, the, budgeting, the, all that kind of stuff, as well as, actually typing up the patterns and so forth. But my favorite place to actually crochet is the recliner couch in the living room with my crime drama playing in the background. That's just, that's my go-to place, but no place is off limits for me. Whether I'm going to a brunch with friends, I still take my crochet with me. It just, because I love to sit and talk, and I can crochet while I talk quite well. As you can tell, I move my hands a lot. So if I don't have the yarn and stuff in there, I'm kind of, all over the place.
I always bring a project bag with, just because, and most people don't take offense to it or anything like that. They're always like, oh, what are you working on?
Right.
And because I, like you, can hold a conversation, I don't have to think about what I'm doing, because I certainly am not going to bring along a super complicated pattern.
Exactly.
It's going to be something that can just be thrown in a bag and taken along.
Right, right. I say, when people comment about crocheting at church, I'm often, like, look, I always take a project that is kind of a no-brainer, kind of project. I'm not thinking about, what I have to do, or I'm not worried about counting. Okay, it's 5 stitches of this and 2 stitches of that, and whatever. It's
exactly.
more.
I really don't have to pay attention to this thing. I can do it in my sleep.
Right. So I enjoy those no-brainers for those kind of purposes, but then I really enjoy the ones that are definitely pay attention.
I can't wait to get my hands on that one.
So, it just, I crochet different things at different times based on the circumstances I'm in, so.
Yes, absolutely. So let's talk, oh wait, I have one more question in our fun questions. What is your favorite crafting snack or drink, and how are you about messy fingers?
My go-to drink is always water. I'm just not I do, in the morning, I drink a bottle of something that has caffeine in it. I don't do sodas, but I do, I don't know how you say it, the BAI, whatever, drinks. Anyways, they have caffeine in them. So I don't like coffee and tea. So I get my caffeine from something like that. So that's but I drink 1 bottle and then I have to be done, because I just, I have hard enough time sleeping at night. I don't need to be drinking caffeine throughout the day.
We are women of a certain age, aren't we?
We are indeed. And I would say my go-to snack, not just during crocheting, but every time in life, is dark chocolate.
Really?
It is kind of the soul soothing, snack of Marsha.
And it's apparently very, very good for you. So you're hitting it on both ends, right?
There you go.
Not only does it make me happy, but it also feeds my body.
Right. I used to be a strictly milk chocolate girl. And my best friend was a dark chocolate, and I'll be like, that stuff is so gross, blah, blah, blah. And I don't know if my mouth changed, or I just finally opened up to the thought of trying it, but I just fell in love with it,
I think my taste change, especially over time like that.
Yeah.
There are things that I eat now that I wouldn't have eaten, 10 years ago.
Exactly. But yeah,
my husband is a dark chocolate person. He's the kind who almost eats that baking chocolate.
Oh, yeah, I have my limits.
Not.
I have my limits. That's a little too
brown chalk. What are you eating?
Yeah, I don't go for the super dark. I kind of like the like Hershey's, the special dark, or the Dove dark chocolate promises, and I'm not opposed to grabbing a handful of semi-sweet chocolate chips, and matter of fact, last night for dessert, I couldn't think of what I wanted. So I grabbed a handful and a spoonful of peanut butter and stirred them together. And I had a homemade Reese's peanut butter cup.
Yes. Yes. You said chocolate chips. That is actually a bone of contention in my house. Oh. Because I buy a bag of chocolate chips so that I have it. So if I want to do some baking or whatever, right?
Right.
And then we've got shelves where I keep the kind of jars that you can see through, and they're labeled and, all that kind of stuff.
Right.
Every once in a while, I'll look up at that shelf and that stupid jar of chocolate chips is down to this much again. And I'm like, if you're going to eat them, refill the jar.
Right.
He does it because every time he lets the dog out at night before bedtime, he takes a handful of chocolate chips. He says that's his key. So, okay.
Yeah, he and I could get along well for snacks, for sure.
Yes. You guys would do really well together, actually, with the chocolate department, for sure. Alrighty. So, you as a designer, what kind of advice would you give to new designers and makers about the things that you would really chase after and the things that you would let go of and really not make it a priority?
As a designer, I would say a couple of important things, at least for me personally, that I have learned in the last 3 years that I've been designing, would be to design what I love to design. And don't design just because someone tells me I should design something.
It's good.
It would be like me. I mean, we've already talked about the types of things I like to design, and it
You
would
have
be
to be
like
authentic.
if you forced me, and I say force loosely, of course, but if you tried to encourage me to be an AMI designer through and through, I would be miserable.
Yeah.
It just is not, it's not a passion of mine. It's not something I don't mind making the pieces. I just don't ever want to assemble them or put a face on them, so I think designing what you love, making what you love is important so you don't lose the joy of your business. I think that to me is a big thing. And going along with that is finding the happy balance of business and life. I think I know I'm guilty of when I first started out, I was so centered on business that I think I missed life. I think I missed some times that could have been memorable with my family because I felt like I had to be designing or I had to get this done because I had to have it published by a certain date,
Yeah.
and that leads me to my next point of remember that you are the boss of your business.
Yes.
And you answer to yourself. You set your goals, you set your timetable and make them realistic. Now there are some things that, I sign up to, like for a blog hop or something like that. And it's supposed to be a new pattern. Yes. I have a commitment to, have the pattern done and tested and available by a certain date. But other than that, other than those kind of commitments, my design schedule is my design schedule. And I honestly think I'm almost embarrassed to say this, but I honestly think it wasn't until this year that I really kind of got that into focus better. It just, I've started leaving. I used to work 10 to 12 hours a day, from the time I got up, other than stopping for bathroom and eating, or fixing food kind of thing. I was involved in some aspect of my business. And so now I've moved my computer into my office. I don't sit with my laptop out in the living room anymore. When I'm in the living room, I'm ever present to my family. That is, that now granted, I will probably still have crochet in my lap.
Oh yeah. But that's your relaxation.
Right. It's different than feeling, I got to make social media posts. I've got to, I've got to type up this design to get to tester. It's a different mindset from when I'm sitting in my office to when I sit out, in my spot on the couch, kind of thing.
Well, in transitioning from corporate America into working for yourself, there is a certain type of mindset of I've got to be busy all of the time because they're paying me for my time. So you take that into a business for yourself and you're like, oh God, I've got to be produce.
Right.
Except that, because I learned it at the same time as you, because I went into business for myself in 2020. And so I've kind of been on that same trajectory where you learn how to just chill the heck out.
Yes.
This is my business. It's supposed to feed me. And it's supposed to be in the way that is authentic to me.
Right.
And so exactly what you were saying is it needs to be what's good for you.
Yes.
And in the same light, though, how are we caring for the people that want to follow us and love us and want our patterns? It's us and taking care of our customers.
Right. Yeah. And it's kind of one of those things where it's kind of a, to some degree, a give and take type relationship. There are some times that I feel like I passionately want to get this project, done so that I can get it testers because I think they're going to love it, or, something like that.
Yeah.
And there are times that, at night, that's all I'm working on is that, when I'm sitting in my little couch world, watching my crime drama shows,
right.
That's what I'm working on, but I don't feel like that's work. Like you said, that's more of my relaxation time, so it may seem like I'm still working as much, but my mindset has it more distinguished. I'm in my office, I'm working, I'm in my couch or on my couch, I should say, and I'm enjoying my passion, my hobby, what I'm saying? So, but I you give to your business what you want to give to your business.
Yeah.
And what you want to get out of it is up to you entirely. Now, if you want to be a workaholic and work those 10 to 12-hour days nonstop, and that's the kind of lifestyle you want and you enjoy, I'm not going to argue with you.
Yeah.
I'm going to say that ain't for me, but you know.
There are people who are workaholics and that's really what they thrive on. But I think I found more people who end up burning out. You get tired of that grind. You get tired of the constant go, go, go. So as far as like what you would have people let go of is just the pressure of, I actually have here, it's a quote that I wrote down in my day planner. It was actually related and taken from like my Weight Watchers group that I'm in. But it says, don't give up what you want most in swap for what you want now. And also put down the weight of excessive expectations, because that is actually a weight that we carry around with us. We have these great expectations on ourselves, and we think that the people out there have that same expectation on us, and they don't.
Right. Yep. And you know, I guess I have the pleasure. I know there are some designers who literally pay the bills with their business. You know, and I am not that kind of a designer. My husband thankfully pays the bills, and my pattern, my business money goes for fun. You know, I mean, it allows us to go to Gatlinburg, go camping, go, you know, whatever. And therefore, what my husband makes that pays the bills and the budget, you know, is handled off of, you know, mine is the fun money. Mine is the, you know, and it was important for me, like I said earlier this year, that was kind of my mindset change. Like I realized that, you know, I don't know why I'm getting myself so stressed out, you know, about fulfilling my own obligation, you know, my own given obligation, you know.
Yes, I created this problem.
Right. It's like, I just made stress for myself. What am I doing? You know? And I think that for me, that was a very freeing time. You know, it was just like, okay, I can take the time to just, you know, I mean, when we went to Gatlinburg, I crocheted very little because we were on the go all the time. We had friends with us, you know, we were enjoying, and I that felt good. Now, did it feel good to come home and pick my hook and yarn back up? Absolutely.
But you're refreshed at that point too.
Right. You know, so it's just, and there were things I felt like I wanted to get done before we went on vacation. And some of them I got done. And some of them, guess what? They were still there when I got home from vacation. You know, it just, and I've learned to be okay with that, you know.
Yep. Yeah. There, you got to give yourself grace.
Yeah.
You definitely have to give yourself grace. All righty. So we're getting about to the end. We're almost at an hour. We chatted a lot.
Sorry.
What parting words would you like to leave with our viewers?
I would say be true to yourself. Whether that be starting a business and what your expectations are, whether that is using crochet as a ministry to other people, I guess listen to your heart, listen to what you feel like is your passion, is your desire, and then find the happy balance between that and the other aspects of life.
Yes, I completely agree. That's a very good reminder. Alrighty. So don't go away. I want to say a proper goodbye to you, but I'm going to go ahead and take you off screen just so I can say bye to everybody else.
Okay. Thanks.
Oops, I brought you back. Oh my gosh, you guys. Thank you so much for joining us today on the Buzz with Busy Crochet. Make sure that if you are watching on YouTube as a rewatch, or if you were with us live, subscribe and hit the bell so that you can get the notifications every time that I go live on the Buzz with Busy Crochet, which varies from week to week. And everything concerning Marsha, all of her information is going to be in the description box below in just a little bit. So you'll be able to hook up with her and connect with her. Make sure that you sign up to her newsletter so that you are aware of whenever her patterns come out, because I know that she's bringing out that stocking, that Christmas stocking. I can't wait to get my hands on in November. So make sure that you are signed up on her newsletter so that you can know too. All right. I'm going to say goodbye and thank you again for spending some time with me today.